All right, let's start with your buddy, Jordan Love. We've talked about this guy for, goodness, feels like months. He got his 4-year extension. Colin,
Spicy.
$220 million. Are you kidding me? He joins Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence as the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
He's got his eye on a 2,200 square foot fixer-upper down the street from the stadium. You can buy a nice condo in Green Bay for that.
Gosh, Matt LaFleur does not expect Love to change following the big payday. Yeah, sure.
It goes back to much is given, much is expected, and that's just the reality of our league. And but I think he'll embrace that. I don't think you'll see a difference in the person, and I don't think we would do something like that if we felt that way. The thing that's so impressive about him is just how resilient he is. Like, never gets phased, just continues to fight. And I think that says a lot about him. I think that's a big reason why we're standing here today talking about him.
It seems to bother you, rankle you.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy. He got paid. He got generational wealth. Yeah. That's awesome. He also got the number 55, which I'm curious as to your thoughts because, you know, when Joe Burrow gets it, hey, he's been to a Super Bowl, he's beat Mahomes, he's been to AFC title games. We've got basically 10 games of sample size of Jordan Love being quality.
Well,
the 2 playoff and the 8-game run.
So one of the reasons that I would defend this contract is because of what's surrounding. Like, whereas you pay Dak a lot of money, do I trust Jerry Jones to get his emotion and ego and vanity out of the way and surround him with good players? Part of the reason this is, like, you pay Trevor Lawrence big money, do you trust the Jaguars not to screw it up around him? I don't know. But if you pay Jordan Love that money, you know, it's like, well, the O-line will be good. The receivers and tight ends are good. The coach is good. They don't have a crazy owner. So I feel confident in that this money, there won't be any landmines. I mean, Favre and Aaron had no landmines for years until they created them. Favre got stubborn, didn't want any new offense, and Aaron got weird. Other than that, it was just, you know, occasional playoff disappointments. But there's no real drama in Green Bay other than quarterbacks creating them. And in both Favre and Rodgers' case, that was when they were much older and richer. So, I mean, like, if I said to you, take out Aaron Rodgers over the last 20 years, has Green Bay ever had drama with any player? So it's like, and I'm not just banging on Aaron, but he kind of created the darkness retreat and the I don't know what I want to do. So my takeaway, whereas the Jags have controversy every 3 years, you know, Dallas has it every 15 minutes. So I don't worry about spending that kind of money. It's like buying a really nice car. Well, if it's protected in the garage, you got nobody in the family ever has gotten in a car wreck. Everybody's a safe driver. I feel good about the purchase.
Okay. I want to address this. I've talked at length about Jordan Love, why I think he's worth the money, and I unpacked it from all different ways. I think it's going to be great for the Packers, great for Love, great for everything. And I told you all before that I think that the Packers what's at stake for them is dynasty building, and I stand by that fully. And I'm sure I'm going to address this again. Probably have to say a lot of the same things for when I do a video. I assume first things first, we'll have to, we'll talk about this as well. And I'm curious to see what Nick Wright has to say. But listen, I want to address in this video specifically, very directly, this idea that they only showed what he can do for 10 games, and that's why, and he got the contract, and that's crazy. There's a few ways that I want to look at this too, mainly, okay? One, it wasn't just 10 games, because he was in the building for years, okay? They know who he is. They know how he prepares. They know how he practices. They know what he looks like on the field, off the field, on the practice field, off the practice field, weight room. You're getting paid a lot of money, not just for what you do on the field. Don't get me wrong, that is the big bulk of it. But there's other factors at play, without a doubt. So it's not like they just had no idea who Jordan Love was. He just kind of came from Japan, and they're like, we need a quarterback. And they're like, well, how about this guy from Japan? And they just got him, threw him in, and they only saw him play for 10 games, and that's it. That's the only thing. They've only known him for essentially 10 weeks. And then like, okay, I guess we pay him now. That's not the situation, but people are acting like it is. And I use an extreme Japanese example because that's what they're acting. They're acting like that they did not see him and be with him for years. For literally years. Okay? It's very similar to you being in a relationship with someone And when you're in a relationship with someone, you want to date them and see if you want to marry them and all that. You want to know what it's like to be with them for the good times and the bad times. And maybe early on in your relationship, you didn't really have any bad times. Like there was no, there was no family issue, no unfortunate passing or traumatic event. And then it happens a couple years down the line, and now you're like, well, I don't know. She dealt with it very well, and she was a great support, and we were able to really handle it. But like, I don't know. It was only this one time. Like, I don't know what she's going to continue to do into the future. It's like, well, you have this evidence. You had the first couple of years that went very well. And then when push comes to shove, when you really needed to test the merit of your relationship, you pass with flying colors. So why are you now going to doubt that? Why are you going to act like, well, I don't know, maybe next time around when something bad happens, she's just going to freak out, I'm going to freak out, and our relationship's going to be awful. Like, it doesn't actually logically make sense. And so the other aspect of this is with Jordan Love and just quarterbacks in general, the money that you spend, a lot of times people act like the money that you spend is money that you'll never get back, meaning this money is in the company, in the team, in the franchise, and that when you pay 55 million, 60 million, whatever the number it ends up being, that if that quarterback is not actually worthy of that contract, that money's gone now, and now we're at a deficit, and now moving forward, it's so hard for us to get that money back to be able to do the things that we need to do. They act like it's actually kind of like a business where, like, if I'm buying something, if I'm trying to buy and sell cars, for instance, and I overpay a ton of money for these cars, and now I can't sell them because I thought they were worth a lot more, my business now is legitimately hampered. I could go out of business. I don't have enough capital now to maybe now buy the cars that actually matter. That's not how the NFL works. It's more like if I buy these cars and they don't end up being what I think they're going to be, and they just crash and burn, well, in a few years, I just got that capital back and now I can spend it again. It's monopoly money. It's not actually real money. And so the reason why I'm pointing this out is that, yes, under a perfect world, Jordan Love would have played those 10 games his rookie year, and then you would have this runway. But that's not how it unfolded. So what it was is he showed great stuff. And I even believe that he showed great stuff in the years that he wasn't actually the starter. But he showed you those 10 games, and now you have to pay him. And so that was his trial. The 10 games were what you could evaluate him on and say, okay, we're going to pay him the 55. He earned it. Because of those 10 games, he earned the right to be the Packers quarterback for the next 3-4 years, and that's the going rate for it. And if it ends up being the wrong decision, if he ends up not being that guy, well, then in another 3-4 years, you're going to be able to get another quarterback. You're going to draft another quarterback, and you'll be able to afford another. At this point, it'll probably be $70 million, $65, $70 million. You'll be able to have it. But people act like by paying Jordan Love right now, if Jordan Love doesn't end up being the guy in 4 years, they won't have the money now to spend on the guy. And that's not how football works. So the money honestly becomes irrelevant. It's just really that you have to ask yourself, is he the quarterback that we can win now with? And if the answer is yes, well, then the unfortunate reality is that then you have to pay him the $55 million a year. And if the answer ends up being no, well, you are going to figure that out over these next few years anyway. And it's not like you could take that $55 million and just continue to stack the roster up. There's only so many good pieces. The money has to go somewhere. So there's no way that Jordan Love is going to show something this coming season where you're going to be like, oh my God, he's clearly not the guy. We're moving on. We're going to draft a new quarterback. We're going to try to get Dak Prescott. That's not going to happen. Because of what he's done in those first 3 years and those 10 games, he's earned the right to be the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers at a minimum for the next couple of years. That's just the way it works. And in the latter half of this contract, the last couple of years, we already know the way this all works. It's going to be essentially like signing a $45 million contract right now, which is going to be like, oh my God, you have someone like Jordan Love, even if he's just a good quarterback at $45 million, that's amazing. That's a steal. So either way, it's a win-win. It's a win-win-win-win-win. There's really no way to slice this in a negative way. It's just the way football works. It's just the way the economy of NFL franchises work. And again, it's monopoly money. The money resets. If you spend this money on a player that ends up not being worth it, sure, it can hurt you in the short term, but it doesn't hurt you in the long term. And if your goal is to figure out who this player is in the short term, then there's no problem spending that money. It doesn't hamper you in any kind of way. So you don't have to talk yourself out of it. Not to mention, J-Mac's all about bets. It's an educated bet. You're betting on Jordan Love being a great quarterback. I believe he will be I believe he already is a great quarterback. Not to mention, when you have a team like the Packers on the floor as your head coach, you are really now putting yourself in a situation to succeed. You're no longer now just betting against the house. You are the house, and that matters. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you think that Jordan Love is worth every penny, that he should have gotten the contract, or do you think they kind of shouldn't have done it because it's only been 10 games? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.